The scream ripped through Duluth's frozen air as Maya Grant collapsed beside a black SUV, boots sliding on ice, red blooming through her winter coat. "I can't go." Maya gasped, eyes wild, scanning the lot like someone was coming back. Not today. Ethan Cole moved fast, one knee hitting the snow, jaw tight, Navy SEAL instincts snapping awake. A black and tan German shepherd stepped in front of him, silent, ears up, amber eyes locked on the street. The SUV's engine growled again. A door cracked open. Maya grabbed Ethan's sleeve, shaking. "They'll hurt me if I miss the meeting." Ethan didn't flinch. "Then we do this my way. Subscribe, comment, and share to see justice served." Break time 0:03. The scream on the ice. Winter had turned Duluth into glass and steel. Where wind off Lake Superior cut through wool and bone, Ethan Cole kept his shoulders tucked against the cold as he crossed a parking lot near the Waterfront Conference Center. Snow had fallen overnight, then partially melted, then refroze into a slick, treacherous skin. Every step mattered. His navy winter parka hung to mid-thigh, the hem stiff with frost. Beneath it, the red and black plaid flannel added warmth and a familiar weight, like a uniform he never asked to wear again. Faded jeans, brown leather boots. A man could change cities, change jobs, change the shape of his mornings. But the old habits stayed. His left knee protested on the incline, a dull ache that reminded him he was not 25 anymore. He adjusted his pace, not slowing down so much as choosing each step with care. Beside him moved his German shepherd, 5 years old, black and tan, ears upright like antennas tuned to trouble. The dog did not pull, did not bounce, did not waste motion. Amber brown eyes swept the lot, not just looking, but measuring. Wind direction, shadows behind parked cars, the rhythm of distant footsteps. Ethan had learned to trust that gaze. There was a pharmacy a block up, and an elderly neighbor in his building who had called at dawn with a cough that sounded like gravel. Ethan could have said no. He could have stayed home, but he'd seen too many people fade because someone decided it wasn't their problem. The German shepherd paused once, nose lifting. Ethan stopped with him, scanning the street. A delivery truck rolled past, chains rattling on tires. A couple in puffy jackets hurried toward a cafe, heads down. Nothing obvious. Still, the dog's posture stayed tense, the kind of tension that was not fear, but readiness. Ethan exhaled slowly. "All right," he murmured, mostly to himself. "We're good." A low engine note drifted in from the far side of the lot. Not loud, but clean, confident. Ethan didn't turn immediately. In Duluth, winter made everything louder and sharper. A car could sound like a threat when it was only a commuter late for work. Then tires squealed. The sound was wrong, too sudden, too close. A black SUV slid into view between 2 rows of parked cars, brakes biting hard on ice. The rear end fishtailed, corrected, then stopped at an angle like it had been thrown there. Silence followed for half a second. Then a scream tore through the cold. Ethan spun. A woman stumbled out from the passenger side, clutching her abdomen with both hands. She looked about 33, average height, but moving like her legs might give out any second. Her face was pale enough to make the blood immediately noticeable. Dark hair, shoulder length, pulled back in a loose twist that was coming undone. No heavy makeup, just chapped lips and wide eyes that kept flicking toward the SUV as if it might bite. Her winter coat was a light color, expensive but practical, cinched at the waist. And across the front of it, red was spreading, slow and unmistakable. She fell to her knees, boots skidding on the ice. One palm slapped down to catch herself, and she hissed through her teeth like the pain had teeth of its own. "I can't," she whispered, breath ragged. "I can't go." Ethan was already moving. His boots found traction where they could. His knee barked, but he ignored it. He dropped beside her, one knee in the snow, hands hovering. "Careful." "Ma'am," he said, voice steady. "Look at me! Can you hear me?" Her gaze snapped to his, green-gray eyes glassy with shock. "Not today," she rasped. "Not now." Ethan's eyes tracked the blood. "Too much. Too fast. You're hurt. We need to call an ambulance." "No." The word came out sharp. She tried to sit up straighter and failed, folding inward again. No hospitals. Ethan blinked once. The kind of blink that cleared a scope. You're bleeding in a parking lot. I have a meeting, she said, as if that explained everything. If I don't show up. A door inside the SUV thumped, not fully opening, just a shift, a sound that said someone was still in there. Listening. The German Shepherd stepped forward, silent, body angling between Ethan and the vehicle, ears rigid, head slightly lowered, a warning without noise. Ethan followed the dog's line of sight. The SUV's windows were dark. The engine idled low, like a held breath. The woman's fingers dug into Ethan's sleeve with surprising strength. Her hand trembled, cold and slick. Please, she whispered, voice cracking. Don't make a scene. They'll hurt me. Who will? Ethan asked, but kept his voice low. She shook her head, and the motion made her wince. I can't miss it, she said again. And now there was panic threaded into the words. Thousands. It's winter. People need it. Ethan's jaw tightened. He'd heard a lot of reasons people refused help. Pride, fear, denial. This was different. This was a woman bargaining with pain because she thought she had to. He reached for his phone anyway. I'm calling 911. Her eyes went even wider. No. The German Shepherd didn't move, but his gaze sharpened, fixed on the street beyond the lot. Ethan caught it, a shape at the end of the slope. The black SUV wasn't alone. It had a watcher, or a partner, or a shadow. Too far to identify, close enough to matter. Ethan lowered his phone slightly, thinking fast. The woman swallowed hard. Maya, she forced out. Maya Grant. Her voice shook as if saying her own name was dangerous. Ethan Cole, he replied, giving it without hesitation. Listen to me, Maya. Hospital first, then we figure out the rest. She tried to shake her head, then stopped, breathing shallow. Her gaze darted to her bag, half open on the ice beside her. I need 24 hours, she said. Just 24. Maya. She fumbled inside the bag, fingers clumsy with cold and pain. Ethan steadied it for her. Out came a plastic access card on a lanyard and a folded slip of paper. She pressed both into his palm like she was passing him a live wire. Harbor Point Tower, she whispered. They're waiting. If I don't show, they'll force it through. Ethan looked down. The card had a clean corporate logo, the kind that belonged on glass doors and silent elevators. The paper had a short code written in neat block letters. You want me to go there? He asked. Maya's grip tightened, then loosened as another wave of pain rolled over her. She squeezed her eyes shut. Just ask for a delay, she panted. Don't let them sign anything today. Behind them, the SUV's engine note changed, a subtle rise, a predator shifting its weight. The German Shepherd's stance locked. Ethan stood, careful not to lose balance on the ice, and positioned himself so his body shielded Maya. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't wave. He didn't offer anyone a reason to escalate. Then he heard the ambulance siren in the distance, faint but coming closer, and he felt the first true breath in his chest since the scream. He crouched again, close to Maya's ear. I'm getting you help, he said, and I'll do what I can. But you're not dying for a meeting. Maya's lips parted, trying to form a reply. That was when the German Shepherd went perfectly still, eyes fixed down the snowy slope, and in the pocket of Maya's coat, Ethan felt something hard and cold like metal, something she had tried to hide until the last breath before she slipped into darkness. The ER and the impossible favor. The siren arrived like a blade through the wind. Ethan kept one hand near Maya's shoulder without jostling her. His body angled to block the SUV while the German Shepherd stood a half-step forward, silent and steady. The dog's amber eyes never left the slope. Tracking movement, Ethan couldn't fully see through the blowing snow. Maya's breathing grew thin. Her lashes fluttered. She was fighting to stay awake the way people did when they were afraid the dark might swallow them whole. Stay with me, Ethan said, low and firm. Look at my face. Breathe with me. Her fingers still clutched his sleeve. Don't let them sign, she whispered, and then her grip loosened. The ambulance skidded into the lot, its tires crunching over packed snow. 2 paramedics jumped out, bundled in heavy gear. One was a woman in her late 30s with a square jaw and sharp eyes that had seen too much. The other, a taller man with a trimmed beard, moved like he'd done this 1,000 times. "Victim," the woman called. "Here," Ethan answered. "Abdominal bleed. She's fading." The female medic knelt, gloved hands already working. "Ma'am, can you tell me your name?" "Maya," she managed. "Okay. Maya, stay with me." The medic glanced at Ethan. "You family?" "No," Ethan said. "I found her like this." The taller medic cut open the front of Maya's coat with trauma shears. Ethan's stomach tightened at the sight of blood soaking layers of fabric. It wasn't a clean cut. It looked like something sharp had kissed her and left its mark. The medic pressed gauze down, firm and practiced. "Pressure," he muttered. "We need to move." Ethan stepped back just enough to give them room. His knee protested as he rose. He ignored it. The German Shepherd shifted with him, matching his movement as if tethered by an invisible line. The SUV engine revved again. Ethan's eyes snapped to it. The door opened a crack, just enough for a shadow to shift inside. No face, no clear shape, only intention. The dog's posture hardened, not aggressive, but unmistakably ready. Ethan lifted a hand, palm down, a silent command. The German Shepherd held position. The female medic noticed. Her gaze flicked from Ethan to the dog to the SUV. "Do we have a situation?" "Maybe," Ethan said. "Just get her inside." The medics loaded Maya onto the gurney. As they rolled her toward the ambulance, Ethan walked alongside, one hand bracing the rail so the wheels didn't slip. Snow hit his face like needles. Maya's eyes opened once, unfocused. "Ethan," she rasped, like the name was a rope she could hold. "I'm here," he said. Her lips trembled. "Pocket." Ethan remembered the cold metal he'd felt. With careful fingers, he reached into the pocket of her coat. He didn't dig. He didn't fumble. He moved like he was disarming something. His fingertips found a small object, heavy for its size. A key, not a normal house key. It was thicker, cut with precise grooves, like it belonged to a lock designed to keep people out. He slid it into his palm and closed his hand around it. The dog made a soft sound, barely a breath, then went still again. Ethan glanced back. The SUV rolled forward a few feet, then stopped, as if testing the space between them. The blizzard gusted harder. Visibility dropped, and then the SUV turned, tires spinning slightly on the ice, and disappeared down the slope. Ethan held his breath until it was gone. Inside the ambulance, the medic began an IV. The female medic spoke into her radio, calling ahead, possible internal bleed, abdominal trauma, hypotensive, ETA 3 minutes. Ethan climbed in without being asked. He sat where he wouldn't interfere, shoulders hunched in his navy parka, red and black flannel visible at the collar. The German Shepherd jumped in after him and settled near Ethan's boots, calm as stone. "Dog stays?" the male medic asked, eyes wary. "He stays with me," Ethan said, "and I'm not leaving her alone if she's asking for me." The female medic studied him for a second, then nodded once. "Fine. But keep him controlled." Ethan didn't answer with words. He simply rested his hand near the dog's neck. The German Shepherd didn't move. Maya's skin looked gray under the ambulance lights. Her breathing hitched. "Hey," Ethan said, leaning closer. "Tell me what happened." Her eyes flicked to his. Fear lived there, bright and raw. "They followed," she whispered. "I tried to drive past, but..." A wave of pain cut her off. She gasped. The medic adjusted the pressure on the wound. Ethan swallowed the urge to ask 10 questions at once. He had learned that panic made people say too much or nothing at all. He chose the one thing that mattered. "Who's they?" Maya's eyes darted, as if the word itself could summon them. "Not here," she breathed. The ambulance rocked as it turned toward the hospital. Ethan caught a glimpse of Duluth's dark buildings and snow-choked streets through the back window. The city looked like it was holding its own breath. They reached St. Luke's in a blur of fluorescent light and rushed footsteps. Nurses met them at the bay doors. A security guard stared at the German Shepherd, then at Ethan, unsure what rule applied to a man who looked like he'd walked out of a storm with a wolf at his side. Ethan followed as far as they let him. then stopped when a nurse held up a hand. Family only past this point. She asked for me, Ethan said. A doctor approached mid-40s, calm face, graying hair at the temples, eyes that didn't waste emotion. His badge read Samuel Reed, M.D. What's your relation? Doctor, Reed asked. None, Ethan admitted, but she's alone, and someone might be after her. The doctor's gaze sharpened. After her, Ethan lowered his voice. A black SUV. It didn't feel random. Doctor, Reed nodded once. The kind of nod that meant he believed in odds and didn't like them. We'll handle the medical side. You handle whatever that is. They wheeled Maya away. Ethan stood in the corridor for a long second, feeling useless in a way he hated. In the field. He could move. He could act. Here. The best thing he could do was not get in the way. The German shepherd sat beside him, ears up, tracking every passing footstep. A nurse rolled a cart by. The dog's gaze followed it, then snapped back to the entrance. Ethan flexed his left hand. The cold metal key bit into his palm. He found a chair near the waiting area, positioned so he could see the ER doors and the main entrance. He didn't like corners. He didn't like blind spots. He chose the spot that gave him the most angles. Minutes dragged. A young man rushed in, breathless, wearing a charcoal pea coat and a knitted beanie pulled low. He looked late 20s, slim build, sharp cheekbones, nervous eyes that kept cutting left and right. His hands were too clean for the weather, and his smile when he tried didn't reach his face. He approached the nurse's station, voice tight. Maya Grant. I'm her. I'm with her team. The nurse asked for information. He fumbled, then produced a card. The nurse pointed down the hall. He turned and froze when he saw Ethan. His gaze dropped to the German shepherd, then back to Ethan's face. Who are you? Ethan Cole, Ethan said. She collapsed outside. I got her here. The man swallowed. I'm Riley Knox, Maya's assistant. Assistant. Ethan watched Riley's hands. They trembled slightly, as if his body had been running on adrenaline for too long. Where is she? In surgery prep, Ethan said. And before you ask. Yes, someone was following her. Riley's face drained of color. Oh God, that reaction was too real to be fake. Riley leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. They can't get the documents. If they do, she's finished. Ethan didn't move. What documents? Riley's eyes flicked to the dog like he was afraid even the animal might repeat secrets. Not here, he said quickly, then forced himself to breathe. She'll tell you, but she may not get the chance. A nurse stepped out and called, Mr. Matthews. Ethan blinked. That wasn't him. Riley stiffened. His head snapped toward the voice. Ethan watched the hallway. The German shepherd rose, silent. Something about that name, spoken in that tone, made the air feel heavier. Like the hospital itself had shifted. Ethan stood, shoulders squaring under his navy parka. He didn't reach for a weapon. He didn't have one. He reached for control. Riley, he said quietly. Tell me why they'd used the wrong name. Riley's lips parted, but no sound came. And down the corridor, a security door clicked open, as if someone had just gained access they shouldn't have. Harbor Point Tower. Ethan didn't sprint down the hospital corridor. Sprinting was noise, panic, and wasted motion. He moved fast the way the military trained a body to move, controlled and quiet, boots landing flat so they wouldn't squeak on the polished floor. His navy parka swayed at his thighs. The red and black flannel at his collar looked like a small warning sign in the fluorescent light. The German shepherd padded beside him, black and tan coat absorbing the brightness, ears tall, eyes steady. The security door at the end of the hall stood ajar. That was wrong. Hospitals loved closed doors. They loved locked doors. They loved rules. Ethan stopped 3 steps short. He didn't rush into the opening like a hero in a movie. He listened. A soft scrape, like rubber on tile. A breath. Then nothing. He looked down at the German shepherd and gave a subtle hand signal. 2 fingers. A slight tilt. Stay back. Watch. The dog obeyed instantly, planting himself by Ethan's left boot, body angled so he could see past Ethan into the hall. Silent. Alert. Ethan leaned, just enough to see around the edge. No one. but the air smelled faintly of something sharp and clean, like alcohol wipes, mixed with cold outside air that shouldn't be there. Somebody had come through quickly, bringing winter with them. He stepped forward, left knee tightening, and pushed the door open with the edge of his boot. No hands on the handle. No prints. Old habit. The corridor beyond led toward restricted treatment rooms. A nurse's cart sat half in the hallway, like it had been shoved aside. A clipboard lay on the floor. Ethan crouched and picked it up, then set it neatly on the cart. Not to be polite. To reset the scene. To see what changed later. Behind him, Riley Knox appeared. Face tight. Breath shallow. "What are you doing?" "Maya needs." Ethan held up one hand. "Quiet." Riley swallowed hard and obeyed. Ethan scanned the hallway, the way he'd scan a street in a hostile town. Light sources, doorways, mirrors, reflections. The nearest exit sign glowed above a side door. The camera dome in the corner was pointed toward the main hall. Not this corridor. A blind spot. Of course. Ethan felt the cold metal key in his pocket, heavy as a secret. Maya had hidden it like it could save her life. Or end it. A nurse stepped out from a side room. Early 20s. Slim build. Hair tucked under a cap, eyes wide with confusion. She clutched a paper chart to her chest like armor. "Sir," she said, "you can't be back here." Ethan kept his voice calm. "Someone came through this door." The nurse blinked. "No, it locks automatically. It's open." Her gaze flicked to the door, then back to Ethan, fear creeping into her expression. "Security." Ethan lowered his voice. "Where is Maya Grant?" The nurse hesitated, then pointed down the hall. "They moved her to prep." "Who moved her?" The nurse's mouth parted. She looked suddenly unsure. "Transport. A man in scrubs. He had a badge." Ethan felt something click into place. "What name?" I didn't see. She swallowed. "I heard someone call him Matthews." Riley flinched at the name. "That's not." Ethan cut him off with a glance. A door at the far end of the hallway swung inward, then closed quietly. Ethan didn't chase. Chasing into a closed door without a plan got people hurt. He stepped to the side, aligning his body with the wall so he reduced his silhouette. He counted the doors. 3 on the right, 2 on the left. The prep room should be the second on the right, based on the nurse's point. He looked at the German shepherd. The dog's nose lifted, testing the air. A faint growl rumbled in his chest. Barely audible. Not meant for the hallway, meant for Ethan. That dog had smelled something Ethan couldn't. Ethan breathed in. The scent again, alcohol, winter, and something metallic. Like coins, like gun oil. He moved toward the second door on the right, stopping just before it. He didn't grab the handle. He listened. Muted voices. One calm, one strained. Ethan spoke through the door. Tone even. "This is Ethan Cole. Step away from Maya Grant." Silence. Then the calm voice answered. Too smooth. "Wrong room." Ethan didn't react to the lie. "Open the door." The calm voice chuckled softly. "You don't have authority." Ethan's jaw tightened. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. "Open the door. Or you force me to." Riley's breath hitched behind him. The German shepherd shifted, weight forward, ears rigid. The door opened suddenly. A man stood there in blue scrubs, late 30s, athletic build, close-cropped hair, face ordinary enough to be forgettable. That was what made him dangerous. His badge swung from his neck, but Ethan didn't need to read it to know it was wrong. The man's eyes were too flat, too evaluating. He held a syringe. Ethan's body moved before his mind finished the thought. He stepped in, angling his shoulder to block the man's arm. His left knee protested sharply, but he compensated, using his hips and weight instead of speed. Control over force. The man tried to jab. Ethan trapped the wrist against the doorframe. He didn't twist hard. He twisted just enough. The syringe clattered to the floor. The man's free hand shot toward Ethan's face. Ethan deflected it, palm to forearm, redirecting the strike. He didn't punch. He didn't slam. He simply took away options, the way he had been trained. Behind Ethan, the German shepherd stepped into view, silent. The man's eyes flicked to the dog, and for the first time his expression shifted, a small tightening at the corners. Calculation recalibrating. He wasn't afraid of Ethan. He was afraid of the unknown in those amber eyes. "Call it off," Ethan said, voice low. "Walk away." The man's jaw clenched. "You don't know what you're holding." Ethan didn't blink. "I know you're not a nurse." The man's gaze darted down the hall, toward the exit sign. A decision formed. Ethan saw it, a heartbeat before it happened. The man shoved, trying to break free. Ethan let him move just enough to overextend, then guided him into the wall with controlled pressure. Not a slam, a pin. The kind that bruised pride more than flesh. "Riley," Ethan said without looking away. "Get security. Now." Riley bolted. The man breathed hard, eyes still on the dog. "This ends at the tower," he hissed. "Not here." Ethan's stomach went cold. The tower. Harbor Point Tower. Maya's card was still in Ethan's pocket, along with the cold key. The request for 24 hours wasn't just about a meeting. It was a countdown. Footsteps thundered. A security guard appeared at the corridor entrance. Then another. The man in scrubs jerked once, then went still, letting his body go limp in a way that looked almost practiced. Ethan released him carefully and stepped back, hands visible. "He tried to get into Maya Grant's prep room," Ethan said. "He had a syringe." The guards moved in, radios crackling. The nurse from earlier peeked around the corner, face pale. Ethan picked up the syringe with a paper towel, careful not to touch it directly, and set it on the cart. Evidence, not drama. His heart was steady, but his mind raced. If someone was willing to impersonate hospital staff, they were willing to do more. He returned to the waiting area just as Dr. Samuel Reed approached, eyes sharp. "We have her secure," the doctor said. "But you need to tell me what you know." Ethan hesitated. Then he pulled the access card from his pocket. The Harbor Point Tower logo gleamed under the fluorescent lights. "Doctor," Reed stared at it. "What is that?" "A reason someone wants her silent," Ethan said. His phone buzzed once. A message from an unknown number. 2 words. Harbor Point. Now, Ethan looked at the German Shepherd. The dog met his gaze, calm as stone, ready as winter. And outside the hospital entrance, through the snow, a black SUV rolled past at walking speed. Black glass. White snow. Ethan left St. Luke's with his pace measured and his mind already mapping the next 10 minutes. He did not look back at the ER doors. Dr. Samuel Reed had promised to keep Maya Grant locked down with security posted. Riley Knox trailed Ethan by a step, pale and tense, his charcoal coat pulled tight against the wind that rushed in every time the hospital entrance opened. Outside, snow hissed sideways across the sidewalk. A black SUV idled at the curb across the street. Lights off. Ethan did not stare at it. Staring turned a suspicion into a challenge. He simply adjusted his angle so the vehicle stayed in his peripheral vision, then reached down and touched 2 fingers to his German Shepherd's shoulder. "Ranger," he said quietly. The first time he used the dog's name out loud. Close. Ranger moved in tight at Ethan's left knee. Black and tan fur dusted with snow. Amber eyes calm and watchful. No pulling, no barking. Just pressure, like a silent hand on a stranger's chest. Riley noticed. "Your dog. He's telling me we're not alone," Ethan said. Riley swallowed. Harbor Point Tower. Maya's meeting is on the 50th floor. Calvin Rusk is leading the group. "Who is he?" Ethan asked. Riley's gaze flicked to the street again. 49. Tall. Gray hair, always perfect. Expensive coats. The kind of man who smiles like he is doing you a favor while he takes your house. Ethan felt the cold key in his pocket. "And this," Riley leaned closer, voice low. "That key opens the lockbox in Maya's SUV. Under the passenger seat. There's a tablet inside. It has her counter terms and the proof she kept off the network." "Proof of what?" Ethan asked. Riley's jaw tightened. "Proof that Rusk is not trying to save the program. He's trying to own it. If he signs today, he controls where the money goes." Ethan did not ask more. Not yet. Information could wait until he was in a safer space to use it. They moved to the far corner of the hospital lot, where Maya's SUV sat under a crust of snow, taped off with a flimsy strip of plastic that looked more polite than protective. Ethan scanned the surroundings first. Sightlines, footprints, tire tracks that did not match the plows. Then he crouched beside the passenger door, shielding the lock with his body. He slipped the key in, turned it once, and opened the door without slamming it. Ranger stayed planted behind him, facing outward. Ethan slid his hand under the seat. His fingers found a small steel box bolted to the frame. The key fit. The latch popped open. Inside was a tablet in a padded sleeve and a folded paper folder with a simple label, Winter Warmth. Ethan zipped the sleeve into his parka and handed the folder to Riley. You carry that. Keep it flat. If someone grabs it, you let it go. Riley stared at him. What? You let it go, Ethan repeated. Paper is bait. We can replace paper. We cannot replace you. Riley's throat worked. He nodded. They left the lot and crossed to the street, choosing a route with more foot traffic and more cameras. Ethan moved them close to storefront windows, where reflections could show what was behind them. He timed the crosswalk, watched the SUV's front tires, and waited for the exact moment it hesitated. Then he walked. The SUV did not follow. Not immediately. Harbor Point Tower rose out of the snow like a dark blade. Glass walls, steel corners, a lobby that looked warm from the outside and felt colder inside, like money had replaced air. At the entrance, a uniformed security guard stepped forward, mid-50s, heavy-set, tired eyes that sharpened when he saw the dog. No animals. The guard began. Ethan held up Maya's access card. I'm here for Maya Grant. She's in emergency surgery. I'm carrying her materials. The guard hesitated, then glanced toward the reception desk. A man in a navy suit was already walking over. He looked mid-30s, lean build, neat dark hair, wire rim glasses, mouth set in a line that suggested he hated surprises. His badge read Marcus Hale. Mr. Cole, Marcus said, as if he had been warned to expect him. Riley. What is going on? Riley's voice shook. Maya collapsed. She's in surgery. We need 24 hours. Marcus's eyes flicked to Ethan's parka, the plaid flannel at his collar, the worn boots. Then to Ranger, still silent, still watching the lobby like it could hide teeth. Marcus exhaled once through his nose. All right. Follow me. Do not speak in the elevator. Ethan did not argue. They took the service elevator, not the glass one. Marcus tapped a code. Floor 50. Ethan stood with his back near the corner, giving himself a view of the door and the mirrored panel. Ranger sat by his boots, ears up, as if counting the seconds. Halfway up, Ethan felt the elevator slow slightly, a stutter that was too small for panic and too sharp for comfort. Marcus noticed Ethan's gaze. Power issues. It happens in storms. Ethan did not like how easily Marcus said it. The doors opened to a reception area wrapped in soft carpet and sharp angles. Beyond it, a boardroom wall of glass revealed silhouettes in suits, heads bent over phones, coffee cups like small weapons. A meeting waiting to eat someone. Marcus stopped at the threshold. Calvin Rusk is inside. He will pretend to be gracious. He will try to make you look emotional or unqualified. Ethan nodded once. I'm not here to win. I'm here to delay. Marcus glanced at Riley. Stay behind me. If anyone asks for documents, you say no. Riley's face was almost white now. Okay. The boardroom doors opened. Calvin Rusk stood at the head of the table like he belonged there by birthright. 49. Tall, shoulders squared, silver gray hair combed back with careful precision. His face was handsome in a controlled way, like a politician's. He wore a charcoal overcoat over a suit that fit too well. His smile was polite, but his eyes measured Ethan the way a man measured a lock. Well, Rusk said, voice smooth. This is unexpected. Ethan stepped forward and stopped exactly 3 feet from the table edge, close enough to be heard, far enough to avoid a grab. He kept his hands visible. My name is Ethan Cole, he said. Maya Grant is in emergency surgery. She asked for this meeting to be postponed 24 hours. A murmur moved through the room. A few faces softened. Others tightened. Rusk's smile widened by a fraction. Emergency surgery is unfortunate, but the work must continue. Thousands depend on stability. Ethan held his gaze. Then you can wait one day to hear her terms. A woman on the far side of the table shifted in her seat, watching Ethan with quiet focus. Early 50s, elegant posture. Honey brown hair cut in a crisp bob, thin-framed glasses, a calm face that looked like it had seen every kind of pressure and refused to blink. Elaine Porter. Riley had mentioned her in passing once at the hospital, calling her the only one who still listens. Rusk turned slightly toward the room, as if teaching. Mr. Cole. Correct. You are a Navy SEAL veteran, Ethan said. Not loud, not proud. Just plain, and I know when someone is trying to rush people into a bad decision. Rusk's eyes cooled. This is not a battlefield. Ethan nodded. No, it's worse. In a battlefield, you see the enemy. The room went quiet. Ranger rose smoothly to stand beside Ethan's left leg. He did not snarl. He did not bark. He simply looked at Rusk with steady amber eyes, the way he had looked at the black SUV. Rusk's gaze flicked to the dog, and Ethan saw it. Not fear, calculation, changing shape. Elaine Porter leaned forward slightly. Mr. Rusk, she said, voice even. If Ms. Grant is in surgery, the ethical choice is to postpone. Rusk's smile returned, thin as ice. Ethics do not keep families warm. Signatures do. Ethan felt his phone vibrate once inside his parka. Another message from the unknown number. You brought the key. Good. Ethan did not show it. He did not react. But in the reflection of the glass wall behind Rusk, Ethan saw a figure move near the side corridor. Too fast. Too intentional for a staff member carrying coffee. And Ranger's ears snapped toward that corridor at the exact same time. 24 hours. The boardroom felt warm, but not in a human way. It was warm like a machine that never stopped running. Warm like money pressed into leather chairs and polished wood until the room forgot what winter looked like. Ethan kept his stance steady. 3 feet from the table edge, hands visible, breathing slow. His navy parka held a dusting of snow at the seams. The red and black flannel at his collar looked almost out of place among tailored suits. Faded jeans, brown boots, a man from the outside refusing to become small. Ranger stood at Ethan's left leg, quiet as a shadow, ears up. Amber eyes locked toward the side corridor, where Ethan had seen movement in the glass reflection. Calvin Rusk was still smiling. He smiled the way a man smiled right before he took something he didn't earn. Elaine Porter sat near the far side of the table, posture poised, hands folded. She watched Rusk, then Ethan, like she was measuring truth by weight instead of volume. Marcus Hale remained near the door, face tight, trying to look like he belonged in every moment of this. Riley Knox hovered behind him, clutching the folder labeled Winter Warmth, as if it might burst into flame. Rusk turned his palms upward. Mr. Cole, he said softly, your concern is admirable, but we can't delay a critical vote because someone had unfortunate timing. Ethan didn't bite. He didn't argue about timing. He didn't raise his voice. He glanced once, quick and controlled, to the glass wall in the corridor beyond it. He saw nothing now. That didn't relax him. That sharpened him. Unfortunate timing, Ethan repeated. That's what you call emergency surgery. Rusk's smile tightened. Elaine Porter spoke, calm as snowfall. Calvin, you're asking the board to sign while the founder is unconscious. That's not stability. That's opportunism. A few executives shifted, small movements. But Ethan noticed them. People were listening. That was the opening. Rusk leaned slightly toward Elaine, like he was about to soothe her. Elaine, we both know the program can't survive on sentiment. Winter Warmth needs structure. It needs management. Ethan's phone buzzed again inside his parka. He didn't check it. Checking it would give the unknown sender power. Instead, he did something else. Something small. Something precise. He lowered his hand and tapped 2 fingers against Ranger's shoulder. Ranger's ears twitched. The dog's eyes flicked to the corridor. Ethan watched the reflection in the glass. A figure moved again. Not a full body, just a sleeve. Dark, close to the wall. Too careful for a staffer. Too still for a nervous person. Ethan took half a step to the side so he could see more in the reflection without turning his head. Military habit. Never look like you're looking. Rusk didn't notice. Or he did and didn't understand. Let's vote, Rusk said. We can send flowers to Ms. Grant afterward. A few people chuckled nervously. Elaine Porter didn't smile. Before we vote, she said. I want to hear the reason for this urgency. Today, not tomorrow morning. Today. Rusk's eyes cooled. We have a window, Elaine repeated. Or a trap. The room went very quiet. Ethan felt the air change, like the moment right before a door gets kicked in. The lights flickered once, then twice. Not a full blackout, just a stutter. The fire alarm didn't blare. The sprinklers didn't go off. It was subtler than that. The screen at the far end of the room flashed red for half a second, then went dark, like someone had pulled power from the presentation system. Marcus Hale swore under his breath. Rusk's smile didn't vanish, but it strained. Minor issue. Continue. Ethan's body didn't tense. His mind did. System failure in a glass tower during a snowstorm could be coincidence. But Ethan didn't believe in coincidences that arrived on schedule. Ranger's head turned sharply toward the side door. A soft click. The side door handle moved. Ethan didn't lunge. He didn't shout. He didn't startle the room into chaos. Chaos was what the intruder wanted. He spoke, clear and even, to Marcus. Lock that door! Marcus blinked. What? Ethan didn't repeat himself. He simply looked at Marcus until Marcus moved. Marcus crossed quickly and slid the interior latch shut. Too late. The door opened anyway. A man stepped in wearing maintenance coveralls. Late 30s. Average build. A beanie pulled low. His eyes were down, like he belonged there. In his hand was a tool bag. Riley flinched. Ethan didn't flinch. Ranger didn't bark. He just rose and stood. The maintenance man froze when he saw the dog. The tool bag sagged slightly in his grip, as if something heavy inside shifted. Ethan's voice stayed low. Drop it. The man looked up. His face was sharp, tense, angry in the way of someone who had already crossed the line and couldn't go back. Rusk's voice cut in. Too quick. Who are you? This room is restricted. The maintenance man didn't answer Rusk. He looked past Ethan, toward Riley. Toward the folder, Ethan's body moved with control. He stepped into the line between the man and Riley, closing distance not with speed, but with certainty. He placed himself exactly where he needed to be. Angle set, weight grounded. His left knee complained. He ignored it. Riley, Ethan said quietly. Behind Marcus. Now. Riley scrambled back. The maintenance man's hand dipped into the tool bag. Ethan didn't let him finish the motion. He surged forward one step and caught the man's wrist with both hands, turning it inward just enough to lock the joint. Not a break, a pin. The kind that made the body obey before the mind could argue. The tool bag hit the floor. Metal clanked inside. Elaine Porter stood abruptly. Security. Rusk's chair scraped. What is this? Ethan didn't answer him. He kept his focus on the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, control points. He used leverage instead of brute force, a man trained to end fights quickly choosing not to end a man. Ranger stood inches away, silent, eyes fixed on the maintenance man's face. The man's breathing went ragged. He tried to twist free. Ethan adjusted, shifting his hips to keep pressure without over-rotating the knee. Efficient, measured. Don't, Ethan said. Not today. Footsteps thundered outside. The main doors opened and two building security officers rushed in, followed by Officer Jenna Park, her winter uniform dusted with snow like she'd run through a storm to get here. Jenna's eyes flicked to Ethan's pin, then to the tool bag, then to Rusk. Let him go, she ordered. Ethan loosened carefully and stepped back. The maintenance man collapsed to his knees, clutching his wrist. One security officer opened the tool bag. Inside was a compact device with wires and a small ignition pack. Not a movie bomb. Something meant to fry systems. Trigger alarms. Create confusion. A distraction. Jenna's jaw tightened. We're evacuating this floor. Now. Rusk lifted his hands. This is absurd. You can't. Jenna cut him off. I can. And I will. Elaine Porter's face was pale, but her voice was steady. Calvin, you pushed for a vote, while someone tried to sabotage our systems and steal documents. If you want credibility, you'll sit down. Rusk's mouth opened, then closed. Ethan watched him. The smile was gone now. In its place was something colder. Not rage, fear of losing control. Jenna turned to Ethan. You saw something. Ethan nodded once. This wasn't random. It's about winter warmth. Someone wants Maya out of the room and the documents out of her hands. Elaine Porter looked at Riley. What's in that folder? Riley swallowed. His hands trembled, but he held on. Terms. And proof. He glanced at Ethan like he needed permission to say more. Ethan didn't give a speech. He simply reached into his parka and pulled out the tablet. Maya kept it offline. Elaine's eyes sharpened. Good. Jenna signaled to a guard. Secure the device and detain him. As the maintenance man was cuffed, he spat a single sentence. Eyes on Ethan. You think you saved her? You just bought time. Ethan's gaze didn't change. That was the point. The boardroom emptied under Jenna's orders. People filed out with tight faces and hurried footsteps. Suddenly remembering they were human, and not just signatures, Elaine Porter lingered. She approached Ethan, her expression softening at the edges. You're not a lawyer, she said. No, Ethan replied. You're not a negotiator. No, Elaine nodded, almost smiling. But you're the first person in this room today who acted like lives mattered. She turned toward Marcus. Schedule the reconvene. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. And send formal notice that no vote will occur without Maya Grant present. Marcus exhaled, relieved. Yes, ma'am. Rusk's eyes flicked toward the corridor where his exit waited. He didn't speak. He didn't fight. He simply left, coat swinging behind him like a curtain closing. Ethan didn't follow. He had learned long ago that sometimes the smartest move was to let the wounded animal retreat, so you could see where it ran. Back at St. Luke's, the waiting room looked the same as before. Plastic chairs, vending machines. The stale smell of coffee, but Ethan felt like the air was different. Doctor, Samuel Reed met him near the desk. She's stable, the doctor said. She woke up briefly. She asked for you. Ethan's chest tightened, just slightly. They walked down the hall. Ranger padded beside him, calm, snow melting off his fur. Maya lay in a recovery bed, smaller without her coat, hair loose against the pillow, face pale but alive. Her eyes opened when Ethan stepped in. You went, she rasped. I went, Ethan said. Her gaze slid to Ranger. He came too. Ranger sat by Ethan's boots, ears forward, watching Maya as if he could hear her heartbeat. Maya's mouth trembled into something like a smile. Did you get the time? Ethan nodded. 24 hours. Maya's eyes closed for a second, and a tear slipped toward her temple. Thank you. I didn't do it alone, Ethan said quietly. Your people showed up. Elaine Porter, Officer Park. They listened. Maya swallowed. Elaine's always had a spine. I just never knew if she'd use it. Ethan leaned closer, keeping his voice low. Tomorrow at 2, you'll be there. On your terms. Maya's eyes opened again. Clearer now. And you? Ethan shook his head. My job is to get you to tomorrow. Maya's fingers twitched, weak but reaching. Ethan let her take his hand for a second. Her grip was light as paper. I spent years thinking strength was what I could force, she whispered. Today I learned strength is what you refuse to do, even when you can. Ethan didn't have an answer for that. He just sat in the chair beside her bed, and Ranger settled at his feet like a quiet guardian. Outside the hospital window, Duluth snow kept falling, blanketing the streets, softening sharp edges. The city would still be cold tomorrow, but somewhere inside it, something had shifted. In the days that followed, the story spread not as gossip, but as a kind of warmth. A veteran who stopped, a silent dog who warned, a board that hesitated instead of signing, a program that stayed alive. Winter Warmth reopened its intake line that same week. Volunteers showed up with boxes of mittens, space heaters, canned soup. Churches and neighborhood groups that hadn't spoken in years called each other and offered help without asking who deserved it. Officer Jenna Park's investigation widened. The maintenance man talked. Names surfaced. Contracts froze. The black SUV stopped circling. And on a bright, bitter morning 6 weeks later, when the wind off Lake Superior finally eased, Maya stood on the steps of a community center with a ribbon in her hand. Ethan stood in the crowd. Navy parka zipped up, red and black flannel at the collar, hands in his pockets. Ranger sat at his boots, black and tan coat shining in the winter sun. Maya looked out at the faces, old women with knit caps, tired fathers with toddlers on their hips, teenagers carrying boxes, retirees holding thermoses of coffee, a community stitched together by a season that had tried to break it. She caught Ethan's eye and smiled. Not polished, not practiced, real. Then Noah Grant, 8 years old, stepped forward, cheeks red from the cold, and cut the ribbon with both hands like it was the most important job in the world. The crowd clapped. Someone laughed. Someone cried. Ethan felt Ranger's shoulder press lightly against his boot, like a reminder that the world could still be good. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan believed it. Sometimes the miracle is not thunder from the sky. Sometimes it is a stranger who stops in the snow when everyone else keeps walking. Ethan Cole did not arrive with fame or a perfect plan. He arrived with steady hands, a stubborn sense of right and wrong, and a loyal German shepherd who watched the shadows without making a sound. In the coldest seasons, God often sends help in simple form, a door that stays open long enough, a truth spoken at the exact moment it is needed, a quiet dog who refuses to let fear move closer. Ranger did not need a leash of glory. Loyalty was already written in his eyes, and when pressure rose, that loyalty became a shield, reminding everyone in that glass tower that human lives are not numbers on a page. If this story touched your heart, hold on to it. Let it remind you that courage can be calm, faith can be practical, and love can show up with muddy boots and warm breath in winter air. Share if you believe in angels with paws. Comment amen to bless our veterans. Subscribe for the next story.